Do you want to be on Disney Channel? Well, call in at 1-800-MAKE-IT-BIG to start living your dreams on a minimum wage salary.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Imurgency and welcome back to my channel. Today, we're here and we're talking about Hollywood. Specifically, your faves in Hollywood. And more specifically, why it's been coming out more and more that some of your faves might actually be broke. Oftentimes when we think about making it big in Hollywood, we think about these highly glamorous lifestyles filled with the glitz and the glam. A sense of almost limitless wealth to some of the most famous people in entertainment. But it seems that, like in most things in life, that may be too good to be true. So in this video, we're gonna be looking at how it's possible for some celebrities, even those that are thought to be like the it boy or it girl of Hollywood and entertainment, can also be living paycheck to paycheck, as well as digging into like what that actually means. First, before we do that, we need to have a talk because it seems that a lot of y'all that are watching aren't actually subscribed to the channel. So if you are new and you enjoy pop culture commentary, TV show reviews, and fashion reviews, you should hit that subscribe button. I'm just saying, you'd be doing yourself a big favor. Also, if you want to keep up with me, you can follow me on my social medias at Imurgency. That's on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all the above, all at Imurgency, as well as leaving a like on this video because that helps out with the algorithm so much, like you don't even understand. It helps out a lot. Right, cool. So let's get into the video. So very quickly, I want to add a little preface. Just because of the nature of this video, talking about money, no one really knows the extent of someone's financial situation, except for the individual themselves and maybe like their accountant. So when I'm talking about numbers and money and like the whole concept of living paycheck to paycheck, I'm basing this all on anecdotes from like actual individuals who come and speak out about what their financial situation is, as well as like publicly accessible information on the internet. Let's talk about why some of your faves are living paycheck to paycheck. And this conversation has recently rose to popularity due to an interview that Sydney Sweeney, you know, Cassie from Euphoria, did recently, where she came out and said that like she's not able to take like 6 months off. And that came as a shock to a lot of people because traditionally when you think of like actors and like celebrities of that sort, you think of them being like super successful or like they could honestly quit at any time and like live off of like the money that they've made. But Miss Sweeney is coming out and saying that that is not the case. They aren't paying actors like they used to. And oftentimes like the cost of the whole lifestyle starts catching up to like the amount of pay, so where you aren't able to really take a break, even when you are at the status of Sydney Sweeney. And I think we really need to emphasize like what level of person we're really talking about here. We're talking about Sydney Sweeney. She's pretty much everywhere right now. Of course, she was starring on 2 seasons of Euphoria, which were really huge in her visibility, as well as being on White Lotus. And recently, besides all the brand deals, collaborations, and fashion moments, she's recently been nominated for an Emmy. So this girl is really out here doing things. Like she is what you typically think of a really successful actor. How is it possible that she is not still in like a place where she wants to be, or at least in a place where she can take off for like 6 months, you know? And that sort of brings me into the first thing that I want to talk about, which is the hidden cost, or maybe not so hidden cost, I don't know, but the cost of being an actor. Number one, first and foremost, has to be education. For many trained actors, they've been doing this for a while, and I know it's not as common now, but that also means like going to college for acting. And like I said, nowadays, because of like the prevalence of like social media and just like a heightened visibility on different people, as well as like the acting criteria changing in order to be cast in some of these shows, a full academic background in acting isn't necessarily necessary anymore. If you choose to be professionally trained, that costs you anywhere from $30,000 to $100,000 before you're even making any money off of gigs. And if traditional schooling isn't for you, there are also acting workshop classes that you can take, which then cost you anywhere from like $10 to $150 a session, sometimes more depending on where you live. Then you got the professional headshots of it all, which can run you anywhere from like $100 if you don't know anybody to $1,000. And that's just all the entry level stuff. And that doesn't even get into the stuff that you have to start paying once you actually start booking stuff and are in the space to start booking stuff. And that's where a lot of actors, including Sydney Sweeney, get tripped up. For example, when you're an actor, you're likely not ever doing it on your own. You have a team around you, and especially when you start being really successful, you broaden that team a bunch to really put you into the mainstream. So you have people like a talent agent who like gets you booked for different things, and they can take a commission from the gigs you book of up to 20%. And then you could also have a manager to help you out day to day, which then is another up to 10 to 20%. And then if you want to be mainstream and in like the public eye, you need like a publicist to get you booked for different PR things, which also takes another percentage. And then also like maybe like an attorney if you want to like stay super safe from all the contracts that you're signing and then all the deals that you're signing. Again, we're talking about like high tier acts. So when you add all that up and all those percentages up, it's a large portion of like whatever check you're getting from whatever gig you have booked. So let's circle back to Miss Sweeney really quick. According to Google, Sydney Sweeney's net worth is about $5 million, but based on the gigs that she's booked acting wise so far, in season 1 of Euphoria, she made an estimated $25,000 per episode, and then an estimated $350,000 in total from season 2 of Euphoria. And based on that amount alone, we're not even thinking about like the brand deals and stuff like that. We'll talk about those in a bit. But just based on that, she says that she can't afford like a 6-month break or like 6 months of time off from like acting and working. First off, before we get into any sort of breakdown, who really can take 6 months off? And I mean, I guess some of her peers that are more like old time actors have that luxury, because both her and a lot of people have been saying that like acting and actors just aren't paid the same way that they were back in the day. And the current actors now don't receive any residuals from being on like streaming services and things like that. So that's also like a loss for them. And according to a Vulture article, take this with a grain of salt, but her mortgage is around like $17,000 a month. So that's a lot of money that she's paying her publicist a month. But honestly, that publicist is putting in work because, like I said, Sydney Sweeney is everywhere. When you start to see those percentages add up, you start to see why it makes more sense why she's saying that she can't afford to take off. And of course, none of those things are really accounting for like the just regular bills that you have to pay, as well as like health insurance and like debt. Because I know that she went to school for a little bit. And it really just starts to contextualize why we start seeing celebrities like Sydney Sweeney start taking so many other brand deals and so many other collaborations. Because in a lot of cases, acting just does not pay the bills anymore. Another actor, Jamar Michael, made a really good TikTok on this, and he sort of touches on my next point that I want to talk about. And that more gets into the cost of being in Hollywood.
So everyone's talking about that Sydney Sweeney article, and I just want to talk about it from my own experience as an actor in Hollywood. I totally get what she means about not being able to take 6 months off, because in this industry nowadays, you have to stay relevant and you have to pay to stay relevant. It's hard to stay relevant if you don't have a publicist, which in Sydney's case, for her season 1 of Euphoria, she was still technically green because she didn't get her career really popping, or at least started, until 2018, according to her IMDb. And she'd been acting since 2009. So she really started booking substantial jobs in 2018, which got her her first series regular in Euphoria. And because she was new, she was paid on the lower end of the totem pole. And by then, she hadn't really done like the acting she did in season 2 yet. So she really didn't show us that she's an Emmy-nominated girl until season 2. And then you have to factor in all of the events and promotions and red carpets that they go to, that they have to pay for hair and makeup and for their outfits. Because shit ain't free. Y'all seem to think that the studio pays for everything. That is not the fucking case at all. They gonna pay for some shit. They will pay for some people's shit. Not everybody's shit. They will pay for some people's shit. They expect you to do the extras and to pay for it for yourself to look good and, you know, promote the show. It's extra shit. And they will exploit you for being new, being like, oh, well, we need you to do this. So a lot of this lifestyle is just networking.
So in his video, he talks about how a lot of things that you think are either like paid for or like gifted or just aren't really expenses for actors in Hollywood end up just being things that are out of pocket or are lightly subsidized. And I think this is kind of interesting since I do like red carpet and fashion reviews. But as he was saying, a lot of times when you see these actors on red carpets in these designer pieces, they are actually paying out of pocket for that. And when you are a smaller actor that hasn't had as many like big shows, it's the facade of Hollywood. Well, it seems like everything is a show. In a sense, you have to look and act the part to actually get the part, if that makes sense. Talon Burns sums this up pretty well in her TikTok about the situation and just like the cost of living that lifestyle.
Pretty much underpays, like you cannot survive off of a salary as an actor anymore. Especially as like a black woman coming from a black family, people are always like, are you saving your money? Why didn't you save that? And honestly, being in Hollywood and being on TV, I lost more money than made, because also when you're on a show that isn't quite valued yet, wardrobe, you know, now you have this look you're trying to upkeep, premieres, hair, makeup, a lot of those expenses took from my actual pay that I got from the show.
But I just think this whole conversation is so interesting, especially when we start putting it in the frame of pay equity, because it really makes you think, like, how much should these people be paid for the jobs that they're doing? Of course, ideally, everyone should be paid a livable wage. But also on the flip side, should these jobs be paid as much as they are to attain this lifestyle? Or is the typical Hollywood lifestyle even something that should be a thing? And what I mean by that is it really fair to have a conversation of being like, oh wow, these actors aren't paid enough to live their luxurious lifestyle, when there are doctors and teachers that are severely underpaid? Sort of talking about old Hollywood, the final thing that I want to talk about sort of digs into why it is that new actors and like actors in like this new age are said to not be paid as much as older, more tenured actors of like the older era. In my opinion and speculation, I think that is due in large part to streaming services, because I feel like now the barrier to enter the acting space and to be really successful in Hollywood is a lot lower. Like, for example, a lot of people that starred in Euphoria and rose to fame did not really have a background in acting in the first place. Like, Euphoria was their first gig. And of course, you just have the prevalence of social media, where we're seeing a large migration of like social media stars that have these huge fan bases transition into more traditional media, which lends itself to music and acting. And with that, they usually bring their audience along with them to inflate those numbers in streams, which again make the show really successful. But like Sydney Sweeney was saying, these actors aren't really getting the residuals from streaming, so they don't really get to see the fruits of that. And they're just getting the standard amount that they signed in their contract before anyone knew if the show was going to be successful or not. But yeah, I just feel like this whole conversation is so interesting. There are so many layers that you can go into this with. But now I want to hear from you. What do you think about like big actors living basically paycheck to paycheck? Big paychecks, might I add. And what are your thoughts on the shift in the entertainment industry? Do you see there being a big change? If so, what is it? Let me know your thoughts down below. But thank you all so much for watching along and hanging out with me. Again, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like on this video, follow me on my socials. But other than that, y'all, I've been Imurgency, and I'll see you in the next video.